Good afternoon, everyone. It's midday. Welcome to Environment Sustainability Committee meeting number 3 of 2023 on the 18th of April. Check councillor attendance. We have all members of the committee except for Councillor Kunzman. So we have an apology from Councillor Kunzman. So as per the motion on screen, I'll move that apology be accepted for Councillor Kate Kunzman. Do I have a seconder?
Or leave of absence?
That's what I meant to say. Leave of absence. That's correct. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Mayor Harding. All those in favour? Unanimous and carried. Thank you. Being midday, I propose that we adjourn for 30 minutes for a quick lunch. Being procedural. Oh, yeah. You second that, Mayor Harding? Thank you. All those in favour? We'll return at 12:31. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Environment Sustainability Committee meeting number 3 of 2023. I have all councillors in attendance back. Proceed with acknowledgement of country. Ipswich City Council respectfully acknowledges the traditional owners as custodians of the land upon which we meet. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging, as the keepers of the traditions, cultures and stories of a proud people. I'll ask if, committee members if there are any declarations of interest in matters on the agenda. No. There is no business outstanding. So we'll move to confirmation of minutes. The confirmation of the minutes of the Environment Sustainability Committee meeting number 2 of 2023 on the 9th of March. Is there any questions from the committee? No. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Madsen. Seconded by Councillor Fechner. Thank you. Any discussion? No. Then I'll put the motion. Those in favour? It's unanimous and carried. Thank you. Item 2 in officers' reports is additional project for consideration and assessment as part of the Tea Tree Bioenergy funding process. This is a report concerning a request to consider a late project submission under the Tea Tree Bioenergy Fund to reseal and improve the road surface and drainage to part of O'Neill's Road, Willowbank. This project has been identified outside the adopted project submission process that was recently completed for the 2023-2024 projects, as presented to the March ENS Committee and Ordinary meeting on the 23rd of March. Does any member of committee wish to ask any questions? No? The recommendation is that Council approve the inclusion of the O'Neill's Road Improvement Project as a late submission to be considered as part of the 2023-2024 Tea Tree Project Program outside of the approved program process and procedures. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Madsen, seconded by Councillor Fechner. Any discussion on the matter? Mayor Harding. Yes,
this is a matter I think that's been really embraced by the community, and obviously with the rains that we've had, that's been, you know, we get the, it is a road safety issue. I do see that it is outside the normal process, but there's I guess an urgent community need. I guess for me, the other consideration is the fact that that particular part of the road is actually part of the consideration for the Cunningham upgrade with the Amberley interchange there. So at some stage you would think some work's going to be happening there, but we have no horizon for when that funding's coming. So I think that it would be good to do some work there to address the need that's happening now every time it rains from a safety perspective.
Councillor Madsen.
As I am sure our wonderful colleague Councillor Fechner can attest to from our time on the Rivers Improvement Trust, one of those key issues we have in our waterways is, you know, wash off of sediment and gravels and other sort of materials into the waterway that create a variety of issues. So this is principally also a part of the fact that the side of the road during rainfall events is washed out and it goes down into the creek, and so we want to prevent that into the future. Just touching on what the Mayor has said about the Amberley interchange proposed upgrade, just noting the determination made in the Inland Rail report from about a fortnight ago, talking about Ebenezer as a potential terminus. For that, you'd have to consider that a more substantial upgrade to that interchange may be required. They may even need to look at things like the Western Ipswich bypass and those sorts of things. So I kind of believe that that'll mean there'll be a couple of more years of inertia, because I can't see them doing interim works to then go and do a bigger upgrade 3 to 4 years after the fact. So this in the interim removes the safety issue, removes the gravel into the waterway, and the community will be very thankful for the project occurring.
Yes, I concur, Councillor Madsen, in that the impact is there, it is real as now, and all those other matters are future proposed, and we don't really have a direct timeline on that. So responsibly, my personal opinion is that remediation of that impact needs to be done effectively by and utilising this framework is good use of resource, I think. Mayor Harding.
Do you mind, Chair, if I ask a council officer a question?
Sure, we can return to that.
Graham Martin?
Is it
More on
infrastructure based?
roads.
Sorry, okay.
If I may.
Good afternoon, Graham Martin, Acting General Manager, Infrastructure and Environment Department.
Go ahead, Mayor.
Thank you. Through the Chair. Mr Martin, obviously after 8 or 9 years of drought, we now had this very, very wet 3 years. Is there a way that we know that it seems to be every time there's a bit of rain that that particular area, the gravel is there? So whilst obviously we're having a discussion about the long term, or what's got some roadworks that could be done in another year or two, is there anything that we could do to make sure that when there is rain, that someone goes out there to address the gravel on the road, or what can council do to support the community there?
Yeah, so the proposal we're moving forward with now, and we're just into the sort of embryo stages, is to make that more of a permanent fix without doing a major embellishment of the intersection. So we're looking at putting in some stabilised sand in the first instance, so that we can make sure that the table drain that's there at the moment, which is gravel lined, has now got a stabilised sand, which should bind together and stop any of that significant wash-off coming. It's got a fairly long catchment area, so we will get some from further upstream, but I think the immediate impact that we've got at the moment will be significantly reduced. With the availability of some of these funds for next financial year, then yeah, I'm confident that we will remove, let's say, 95% of the issue, and we should not be having to go out there every time it has a relatively small shower of rain to be out there fixing up the gravel and removing that skid area and washing down into the waterways as well.
Do we have some areas of council we know where there's rain, we always have to do some road work? Is there something we can do in the next 6 months until something's done that we can prioritise, that when there is rain, that we know that gravel's going to go on that road and we know it's going to be a road safety issue?
We have that on our list for inspection. Yep. So when the duty officer is on call and we get the heavy rain, particularly if it's expected, then it's one that we're going out to on a regular basis and inspecting. Depending on what other roads in the LGA get affected, it's not always the first one we get to, but absolutely it's one that's on our list and on the watch list every time we get some rain.
Thank you, Mr Martin.
Any further questions of Mr Martin? No? Thank you, sir. Any further discussion by committee? No? Then it's been moved and seconded. I will put the motion. Those in favour? It's unanimous and carried. Thank you. Item 3 is Land for Wildlife Program Update and Funding Arrangements. This is a report concerning Council's involvement in the Land for Wildlife South East Queensland Program, the alterations of the host organisation and the continuation of fund contributions over a 3-year period to support the regional coordination of the LFW-SEQ program. Does any member of committee have any questions? No?
I was going to suggest the amendment to that recommendation as per the email I sent to yourself and the Deputy Chair and the Committee Chair, if that's okay, just be really upfront about the money that's being spent in the recommendation. Yes,
I thank you, Mayor, for raising that, particularly for the purpose of transparency. I'll just confirm that has been received through. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair.
So I'll just check, are we proposing that the recommendation will be amended to have 2 parts or replaced with that?
I guess what I was just suggesting is what you do as B. I was going to put the report for the land update and the funding arrangements are as there. I guess I saw it as one recommendation.
Okay, so that we retain the original recommendation and list that as A, and
the report
recommendation B, B,
or that the land for wildlife, that the report on the Land for Wildlife program update and funding, and I guess put the funding those 3 financial years be received and noted. Because I know we're not making the decision about the fund. That's within delegation within council.
CEO, would you recommend that we do it as two parts to a recommendation, or retain the original recommendation and have the additional information as...
Maybe it's easy to do as two.
Yeah.
If
It'll be a bit wordy as one, won't it? So I think two.
Two? Are you okay with that,
Thank
Meg?
you, Chair.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. To move forward, committee, we have it as you're able to read in two parts, A and B. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Fechner. A seconder? Thank you, Mayor Harding.
Yeah.
I open the matter for further discussion. No further discussion? Oh, yes, Mayor Harding.
I'll jump in. I wasn't sure if others were, but this has been an incredibly successful program for, 25 years now. It's great to see it growing into becoming, it's now nearly 5,500 private properties across over 80,000 hectares across 13 LGA. So it's great to see this program continue to grow stronger, and so I strongly support the continuation of these arrangements.
No further discussion? Then I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Unanimous and carried. Thank you. Item 4 is platypus eDNA post-flood monitoring follow-up, detailed as on screen. Does any member of committee wish to ask any questions? Mayor Harding.
Yes, if I could ask Mr. Phil Smith.
Mr. Smith.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. I know.
Thank you, Chair, Mayor, Councillors. Phil Smith, Natural
Thank you.
Environment and Land Manager.
Thank you. Through the Chair, we're just saying it is heartbreaking, this report, and obviously the impact of the floods. And I note the report. I guess what I'm looking at is, so what do we do?
So it's a great question, and I think if I could start on a positive, I think we still hold hope that there'll be some natural recruitment and recovery, and we're still seeing the adverse effects of what was a fairly major flood. In terms of what do, we do still have the platypus recovery plan, which I think we put together in 2020, which has a list of prioritised areas, which we prioritise based on where we think they should be, where habitat exists and connectivity, and through our existing waterway improvement programmes such as habitat connections and potentially further investment through the post-flood recovery and hopefully through the federal funding. We should be investing quite a bit of money in stream bank rehabilitation, waterway improvements, as we do, but hopefully we'll see a marked increase in that investment over the next few years with that extra funding. So we know where they should be, we know where we should be investing money, and we'll continue to make the habitat as suitable for them as we can. And then it's up to them to do their thing, I think, unfortunately. We do know that historically there's a stronghold around that mid-Brisbane area, which seems to be a bit of a satellite from where they disperse and repopulate areas. So hopefully over the next few years we might see a resurgence. I think continued monitoring is really important to understand whether we're seeing that resurgence, and we can continue to do what we can do and monitor it and hope for the best to some degree.
The federal government last year in their budget, obviously the urban greening, urban rivers, will that program help with the platypus population as well?
Yeah, hopefully. So as I say, there's some aligned objectives there around stabilisation of waterways, increased riparian vegetation, which will all help increase the suitability of the habitat. One of the great news stories from when we first started the surveys was that there were quite a few urban populations of platypus still around. So by targeting those areas and improving the habitat, yeah, hopefully we can see some marked improvement in the habitat availability. But then unfortunately it is up to those little critters to do their thing and come back into the areas. We can only really make the habitat as suitable as we can for them.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Harding. Thank you, sir. Committee, the recommendation is that the report on platypus eDNA post-flood monitoring follow-up be received and noted. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Mayor Harding. Seconder? Thank you, Councillor Fechner. I open the item for discussion. I think that was clearly described by Mr. Smith as, well, we do have to do all that we can to assist, and that is clear and obvious that is in train. Any member of committee wish to discuss further? No? And I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Unanimous and carried. Thank you. Have no notices of motion. I have no matters arising. So we will close the meeting at 12:47, and the next committee will commence in 10 minutes. Thank you.